my channel. If this is your first time here, hello, my name is Mika. Thank you so much for stopping in. So today I just want to do a quick video just about failure and just my thoughts on how you can get through accepting failure and how it can also help to improve your life. So first things first, we all know failure is when you want something and you don't get it. So you want an A, you get an F. You want a job, you get declined. You want to be in a relationship with somebody, but then they don't choose you. Failures happen in every area of our life. No matter what it is, a decision you may make and you think it's a good thing, and then you find out later on, no, that was the worst thing I could have done. But it happens to us all. It happens to children, it happens to adults. You're not exempt from it. It doesn't matter. Whatever area, whatever stage of life you're in, you can still face failures. And failures are not, I know the word sounds bad because it's a big stigmatism against it. We always look at failure as something terrible. If you failed at something, oh no, like you're not good enough. And you know, it's just something about you failing. It just makes us as human beings just feel crappy, doesn't it? Well, that's the story of our lives. You know, we have to be willing to accept it, because within that failure, you can grow. Within that failure, you can learn something. And it doesn't mean all the time necessarily to keep on pushing for that thing. Because like I said, if you were trying to be in a relationship and then that person's like, I don't want to be with you, and you tried everything you could and it was just very clear that that person doesn't like you like that, that's not the green light for you to just be like, oh, I'm going to try harder. It's just, okay, this person, now I know people with these traits, or maybe for this person in general, I need to stop trying because it's not going to work. The person doesn't like me the way I like them. So you learn, and that, you know, of course it doesn't feel good, you know, to have all your attempts failed, but something greater is going to come. Something greater that's for you is going to come. And we have to get in that mindset that if something doesn't work the first time, it doesn't mean a no, or it doesn't mean that I'm not deserving of. And so, you know, that was something that I learned, and I used to take failures really hard. I was like what they called a sore loser because I did not like to fail at anything. I didn't like to fail at arguments. I didn't like to fail at schoolwork. I didn't like to fail at any level in any area of my life. I didn't like to feel like I failed or I was a failure somewhere. It kind of like punched me in the gut, and it was really hard for me to recover from times where I did fail at something. But as I've gotten older, I learned to appreciate my failures, because I know with God or with your higher power, there's just so, you know, there's a reason behind everything. If you were told no for something, or if you failed a test, if you failed a class, that's not the time for you to just say, oh, woe is me, and get upset with yourself and start negative talking yourself. That's the time to say, what did I do wrong? What could be done better? And is it worth me going forward this another time? If it's still a desire of yours, you can try again. Or you can say, well, maybe this is just not what is meant for me. You know, because sometimes we try like going to school for things that we really aren't, you know, we're looking at the money aspect. Or maybe because our friends are doing something, we just like, oh, well, I want to do it too, because we don't know ourselves. Or, you know, we just like, well, it's just a family tradition. All my family members, all the women in my family were nurses, so I'm going to go to school to be a nurse. And it's just not your desire. And so you go to school for it and you find you're struggling. That's the time to step back and say, well, is this really for me? Talk to your higher power, pray about it, and really just focus on what's going on in your life for that moment. Like, is this for me? And if it is, then me failing that class does not mean it's not going to happen. It just means that right now, at the time of my life, maybe there's something more that I need to learn. Maybe, you know, sometimes we get so caught up in just passing things, you don't fully grasp it. So taking that class may be beneficial for you. You know, so you just never know. There's a reason for everything. You know, just like me, for example, over the weekend, I took my social work test, my state board exam, and I did not pass it. And I realized that that's okay. At first, was I beating up on myself? Yes, I was, because I spent so long studying. I bought so much material to study, and I really tried, but it wasn't my time. And I, once I got over that initial, hurt, that initial bruise to my ego, I realized that, you know what, this doesn't mean that, this test doesn't define my ability to do the work, because I know that I am an awesome social worker. Even before I even got my degree in social work, I just knew it because I love to help people. And I just enjoy the aspect of being able to find, resources for people. Things are just going to add value to people's lives. So it's not the fact of, are you good enough or not? It's just, I just didn't pass the test. And there could be many reasons for it. I mean, in the moment I was upset, I studied a lot. And I spent money on study materials, and I tried, yet I still failed. And so I was upset, I was angry, but then I was like, you know what, relax. Me being angry is not gonna change that failure into a pass. And also, me being angry was not allowing me to see other reasons that could have been the reason why God said no right now. Like, who knows? A lot of times in our failures, it's protection. God is protecting us from something. Because if you were to go out here, try to go to school for something, and let's say it wasn't something that was meant for you. Maybe it wasn't on a path that God wanted you to be on, and you try to go to school for it and you fail. And you're like, well, I'm never going to go to college again. I suck at it. How you feel in that moment, but you need to realize that it's not the end destiny. It's not where you're destined to be. You have to stop and think about what may be the reason, because there's a reason for everything. God's not going to just allow you to fail something and not show you why. And a lot of times, I promise you're going to see it. If you, like I say about the relationships thing, you try hard to be with somebody, or even if you were in a relationship, you try really hard to make the relationship work, and no matter what, it just did not work, or that person just did not want to be with you. And then you get angry. You're like, why isn't it working? Then I'm sure you all have experienced it before. I have. Months or years later, you see exactly why. Because God can see, your higher being can see into your future. You can't see it. And so you're thinking that that's your person. You're like, oh, we got married and everything. Like, what happened? And then you realize that once you go through the divorce, yes, you go through the pain. And then you see their life. And then you're like, I'm so happy that I went through that divorce. Or something may have happened, that maybe God knew you couldn't handle. So he separated you from that person. Or, just anything. That person could become, addicted to something. Anything could have happened, but you didn't see it in that person during the time you were together. So you're wanting the marriage to be a success, but the marriage fails. And in that moment, you're angry. You're like, I did everything. That doesn't, like I'm saying, like, failure does not mean that you necessarily did something wrong. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's just not meant for you. But you'll find out something later on. Maybe that person was having an affair, and you would have never thought that person was doing that, and then you find out. But then later on, God will bless you with the person who's for you, somebody who would treat you better, who would not dare risk losing you. Or like I said about school. You may go to school for something and you fail. You may try several times and you keep failing, and you just get frustrated. You're like, I give up. But then you realize that maybe you learned a lot of information, and maybe you try again and you pass it. Or maybe you realize then, like, this is really not what I want to do anyway. And if you're being honest with yourself, not just trying to do like a self, defense mechanism, like, oh, I don't care anyway. Well, maybe you do, but if you really don't, if you're like, well, I was only doing this because I wanted to please my mom and my dad, then you tried, and maybe it's just not for you, and now you can try something else. But if you would have passed it, then you would have been working in a career that you would have been unhappy with ultimately, and then you would have regretted and resented your parents later on, because you were like, I really wanted to be I don't know, you wanted to be an accountant or something, and now you're in nursing, or you're being a doctor and you really don't have any interest in being a doctor, and now you feel stuck in it because you spend so much money to go to school, you put a lot of effort into passing those classes, passing the state exams. Now you're making good money, but you're just not happy there because it's not really what you were called to do. So I just feel like, you know, in the moment where I was feeling really down when I failed my test, my state exam, I just thank God in the moment, you know, because I was thankful that at least I still got the experience. I still got to sit for the board test. I didn't know what to expect on that test, and you really can't, because it's social work. It's not like cut and dry. It's not black and white answers. So it was just very humbling for myself to because I'm used to whenever I test for something, I pass it, you know, and so I didn't this time, and I said that I had faith. So I had to continue to have faith, and I still do. You know, in a moment I was like, forget it, I'm so angry, but then I had to remind myself, do you trust God or do you not? Sometimes it's just a matter of if you trust him or if you don't. That's the reason why you didn't pass, or the reason why something didn't go your way the first time, because he's put you through a test. Maybe this time you didn't get it, but you still keep that same faith and that same dedication and belief in your higher power, then the next time it's going to work for you. But sometimes you just have to make sure that you're sure that you trust them. So, you know, that's just something that I experienced, and you know, it's just another way of looking at things. Instead of beating yourself up, calling yourself dumb, saying that you're just, you know, so embarrassed for what happened, or instead of just, you know, saying, oh, this isn't for me and I'm just going to throw in a towel, I don't want to do it. You have to just remember, anything that's worth having is worth the fight. It's not going to come easy. No matter what it is, no matter how smart you are, no matter how beautiful you are, no matter how much money you make, no matter how many great things you have going on in your life for yourself, you are going to have to work for what it is that you truly want. If it's really for you, that's when the enemy fights you the hardest, and you cannot give up. That's the time when you have to say, you know what? If I have to fall 10 times, I'm going to get back up 11. You know, you have to keep on going. You can't stop. And that means if you have to keep on studying, you have to keep on testing. Because if you have that calling and you know it's a calling on your life and you know that that's where God wants you to be, he's going to open that door for you. But you have to keep your faith. You have to continue trying. You cannot give up. You have to keep on giving your all. I'm telling you, people be determined. You know, people out here all the time, you hear about they stories where they try to do something, they fail at it, or things are just not going their way, and they just keep on trying, and then boom, they get so much greater than what they thought, what they even imagined it would be. And so that's how we have to be. That's how we have to live our lives. Just, you know, just show up in life every day with a determined mindset. You failed this time, okay, learn from, what did you learn? What did you get out of that experience? You know, is it worth you going to try again? If it is, then dust yourself off and go try again. You know, whatever it is, you can't look at failure as the end all be all. Because when you failed a test, or when you failed in a relationship, when you failed at a driver's test, whatever it was, when you failed at something, did you die? I don't think you did. So we need to stop looking at failure as life or death. If this doesn't happen for me, I'm just going to die. If this doesn't happen for me, my life is just over. Stop speaking that stuff over yourself. First of all, it's not true. Second of all, you're stealing your own power from yourself. You're just giving it out to the universe, and you're becoming powerless just because you're speaking those words over yourself. Stop doing that. Say, okay, if I don't pass it this time, okay. Like my grandma told me when I was crying and just acting a fool about not passing my state exam, she was like, you know, calmly speaking to me and just was like, you taking it hard? I was like, yes, I am. And then she was just like, okay, I understand. And I know you are great. You can do this. And you have the skills that it takes to be a social worker. You have it. You know, it just didn't work this time. So you need to change your attitude to, oh well, it is what it is, you know? And so, you know, first of all, it's very beautiful to have people in your life when you're going through something like that or anything that you feel like, oh, well, why did this happen to me? You know what I'm saying? It's good to have somebody who cares. And I had a few people in my life that was just speaking life into me. Girl, you got this. Even my daughter, Mommy, you got this. I'm so surprised that you didn't pass it because you were studying so hard. You're so smart, you know, and it just made me feel better. And then it helped me to realize that, you know, just because I failed the test, that doesn't mean that I'm a failure. I'm not taking on that title. I failed the test. That's one aspect of my life. I could try again. And then I started doing research as well on like other people who took the test, and people were saying that they had to take that test 2 to 6 times because it's just that hard. I mean, it truly is, you know. And I had to rethink about it and like reposition my mind and think about, you know what, I missed this test. I failed it by 15 points. Although that may sound like a lot to some people, there's a lot of people who didn't even make it that you know, they didn't get that high of a score. So, you know, I had to, okay, I rewarded myself. You know, and instead of beating myself up, I said, good job. You tried really hard on that test. You know, next time we just gonna just try a little harder. You know, we're gonna keep on studying, we're gonna keep on learning the backgrounds of social work and just keep on trying and just keep on having faith. And so I took myself out to lunch. Somebody else actually bought my lunch that day. I don't even know who the person was, but it was a gentleman who had just, I guess he seen me looking down. So he just, he paid for my lunch. And that's just how I knew God was just, he was there, because I was like, God, why? You know, I kept talking to God. But of course he didn't verbatim come up to me and say, well, this is why I did not allow you to pass that test. But it just, he comforted me and he knew what I needed, and people started calling me and just like, you know, like, how'd you do on the test? And then when I told them, they went like, oh girl, oh my God, like they were just like, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, you're gonna get this though, you know. And they were still speaking like, you're gonna go retake the test, right? You know, like it wasn't like, oh, that sucks, sorry to hear that, oh man, like, wow, you failed it, wow, you know, it wasn't like that. It was like I'm going to meet you where you are. I hear you. But you keep going because you deserve this. You can do this. And it just, like, God was just showing me all kinds of love from all different types of angles. And just showing me that he was there and he was with me. So I just felt better about it. And I brushed it off my shoulders, y'all. I just took myself shopping and I just smiled and I just had a whole different attitude. You would have thought I passed that test. Because I had to learn in that moment that failure does not define who I am. Failure is just a learning, it's an opportunity to learn something new in my life. It's an opportunity to take a different approach. It's an opportunity to test my faith. It's an opportunity to test how I react in moments where things don't go my way. And I was, like I said, immediately I went back to my old self of, oh, you just so dumb. Like how, like you should have studied harder, like beating myself up. And it was like, absolutely not. You know, after I had spoken with my friends and my grandma and everything, and after I just took a deep breath and I just realized that, you know what, this test doesn't define me. It doesn't define my ability to do the work that I know that I could do. And so I started speaking more calmly to myself. And I had to remind myself, how would you speak to your friends or somebody going through something like this? How would you speak to them? Just like I do my videos for you all and I share my testimonies, and I also just give encouraging words to you all. I had to learn to take that same, I had to speak to myself and say, you know what, you got this. It's okay, dust yourself off. Wipe your face, you're gonna be okay. It does not mean that you're never gonna be a social worker, it's just not right now. Or maybe God got something greater for you. Relax. Don't cry about it, relax. Because when doors close in your face, another one's always going to open. You just have to believe it and keep on walking. Oh well, that door didn't open. Keep on walking. You know, no matter how hard the road gets, keep on walking. Because a door eventually that you come up to is going to open. And it's going to have things behind it that's so much greater than what you ever could imagine for this time in your life. So y'all keep on pushing. If you went through anything like me, or I mean, you have failures around you everywhere, every day, at your job, in your relationships, in your friendships, with your children. I'm just here to encourage you. Don't take it personal. Don't sit around crying and moping and trying to feel sorry for yourself because things are not going your way. Things happen for a reason. Find out what that reason is. Relax. You don't have to know right away. It's going to reveal itself. But just relax and just, be okay with failure. Learn that failure is not you. Failure does not define who you are. You are not a failure. You don't go around saying, I am a failure. You say, I tried this and I failed it before. And you can be a motivation for somebody else. And you can, and then that's the time when you build up your faith and you say, you know what? I feel like this is for me. So I'm going to try again. I'm going to have faith in my higher power that I'm going to get this. And you keep on trying. And if it's not meant for you, I promise you something greater is going to come. But you won't get that greater if you're sitting around just being disrespectful to yourself. You have to have mercy on yourself. Give yourself that same type of peace that you will be given to somebody else without hesitation. When somebody's down, the first thing you do is you want to be, speak positive, speak life into them. Isn't that true? You're not out here just beating people up and kicking them while they're down, stomping on them, unless you're just a evil person, which I hope y'all not. But, and for the most part, like I said, a lot of us just try to help out others when we can. And so we get that same love and that same mercy and that same compassion to yourself. So if you are going through something, honey, sweetheart, baby girl, baby boy, whatever you want to be called, friend, cousin, whatever, you're going to be okay. And I promise when I change my mind, I know y'all so tired of hearing me say this, but it all starts in your mind, honey. So when you change your mind about a situation and you look at it differently, you put on a different pair of goggles, a different pair of glasses, you're unstoppable. I promise. Cause I woke up the next day happy and whole and still in love with myself. And I laughed it off and I just said, you know what? When I test again, I'm gonna try again. And when I'm able to test again, I'm gonna try again. That's it. Instead of beating myself up and being down and moping and crying about it, I just smiled and just said, it is what it is. It happened, that does not define you. So don't let failure define you. Don't let that broken marriage define you. Don't let that bad friendship define you. Don't let bad decisions that you've made define you. You're going to be okay. As long as you have breath in your body, there's an opportunity for things to turn around for you. It will turn around. It's only for a season. You're not always going to fail at something, but you have to go through failures because you have to grow. And failures allow us to grow. Failures allow us to humble ourselves, and failures allow us to have faith. So, y'all let me know what you think in the comment box below, and we will talk about it. Keep the conversation going. Y'all know I like to hear what you have to say, and we will talk next time. Bye.